Hey guys, Sam here. Today I'm working on the S10 instead of the Camaro. I have to do a front end suspension rebuild. So let me show you what's going on here. This is my 2002 S10. Last time I took it for a front end alignment with the tires, they wouldn't do it because the front end suspension's so I guess loose. So I just drove. I've gone about 35,000 miles and I never did fix the suspension. And this tire right here is pretty much done. So I've got some new front end parts. See the sway bar on this side over here. It's tearing apart. So let me unbox what I've got here. I've got all this stuff here. I'll unbox it and show you what I've got. Unboxed everything. I have both sides, upper and lower control arms, already assembled with bushings. They came like that, and also came assembled with the ball joints. All the steering components here, including inner and outer tie rods. Was unsure what these pieces are called, but this piece here, and then this right here. So I already took off the passenger side wheel, and I've got all the nuts soaking in WD-40. All the nuts that I know of I need to remove. So I'm about to start by taking off the sway bar right here. The kit did come with new end links, sway bar end links, but I didn't see the bushings, so I'm probably gonna have to order those. Also, I noticed this lock nut right here. The other lower control arm, it is not included. I don't know if it came off or what, so I'm gonna have to figure out something on that. But I'll bring you back. Got the sway bar removed from this side. The other tire's still on, so I'm gonna save that until I get the tire off. Remove the tie rod end over here. Now I'm gonna try to relieve the pressure off the spring. Basically, I gotta get these ball joints loose from the steering knuckle, and I'm gonna attempt to do this without the spring compressor. This could be dangerous, so just got to be careful. Actually, I don't know that it's dangerous. I'm gonna leave the shock absorber in there mounted, so it's gonna hold it all together. And then what I've done is I've already loosened these castle nuts to where they're still attached, but I just want to break the ball joints loose from the steering knuckle. So I'm going to try tapping on the control arm here. This is a method I heard from my older brother has done this before, so I'm going to give it a shot. Got the ball joints broke loose, and all the tension is off of the spring. Well, most of it at least. But so the way I did this, originally I said I was going to hit this with a hammer, and I did that. I didn't want to break loose, so I ended up going and renting one of these ball joint separators. Since that other method is if you don't want to mess up your ball joint boots or ball joints. Since I'm not reusing these, it doesn't really matter. Also, my brother was telling me another method with using a socket and a bolt with a nut to push these two ball joints away from each other, but I didn't have everything I needed for that. So now I'm just going to take the shock out and then take the lower control arm off. Also wanted to point out, I lowered the lower control arm with the jack. So I had the castle nuts on here on both the top and the bottom, and I just loosened them a little bit so there was a little gap, but they were still holding. Then I had the jack underneath the control arm, so then I broke the control arms loose and they were still being held on with those nuts. So then I can take the tension off with the jack, take the nuts off, and lower it down. But before doing that, I took the steering knuckle out. So before lowering it down, so I had the jack holding it up, took the nuts off, pulled the spindle out of the way, secured it with the bungee cords, and then lowered the control arm down, because otherwise it was wanting to hit the dust shield. Lower control arm is off the rest of the way by removing the 2 bolts here. One here and one over here. Like I said, there was still a little bit of tension on the spring, so when I took the back one out first, when I took it out, the spring did kind of jump out a little bit. It wasn't real fast, so I don't really know that I recommend this method. So the other side I may use, I picked this up from AutoZone. It's the free loaner tool. A spring compressor. I may use that on the other side just to be safe. So the next thing, I got the upper control arm off. The big issue with doing that is this rod right here slides. It's over these studs back here, so you have to push it back that way, but it hits the exhaust manifold and you can't get it around the stud, so you actually have to use a C-clamp and press this back one out. At least on the passenger side you do. And the issue with that was getting the right C-clamp. So you get the C-clamp back behind the stud after you take the nut off, and then I clamped it up against this surface right here. But you have to go underneath. Let me show you that. You have to go under the control arm, so it's up here, back in there. You have to lift it this way and go up under the bottom. You can't really, at least I couldn't get over the top of it with the C-clamp I have. Let me bring you guys back up to speed here. My brother came over this past Saturday and helped me get a lot of this back together, at least the hard parts. I would say putting the spring back in and getting it compressed and assembled. At first I was trying to install it by putting these bolts, these pivot bolts in the back, and then having a control arm hanging down, and then compressing the spring with a spring compressor, inserting it in, and then trying to bring the lower control arm up. But I couldn't compress the spring enough to get it over this hump in the lower control arm. And I really don't like using those spring compressors. They seem to be pretty dangerous if they slip. So anyway, how we ended up doing it is how the Haynes manual that I'm using says to do it. And that is to install the steering knuckle to the upper control arm and the lower control arm, and let the back of the lower control arm hang down. So it'll be hanging down like this. Then you can place the spring in with these insulating boots on the top and bottom into this hole, and then place a jack underneath the back of the lower control arm and jack it up using the weight of the truck to compress the spring. So then you just jack it up, and we used hammers and until we could line the bolt holes up, and then hammered the pivot bolts through. So we've done that on both sides. While he was here helping me, we just kind of threw the right side together, then we came over here and threw this side together. So now what I'm doing is I'm going through and torquing bolts. I'm going to torque the upper control arm, the lower control arm. I can go ahead and put the grease fittings on and put this back together. The one thing you wait to torque is this pivot bolt here. You're supposed to wait until all of the weight from the vehicle is on the ground. So I'll wait until the wheel's on to torque that. And then after I do this side, I have to go to the other side, do all the same things because it's kind of just loosely put together. Shocks are in, everything's torqued. Just got done torquing the lower control arms. It's up on ramps because the torque wrench didn't want to pivot. It would hit the ground, so I had to put it up on ramps. But yeah, I torqued these. Rears are to 72, fronts are to 85 foot-pounds. So next, I'm gonna do all the steering linkage. This is all the old linkage. I temporarily hooked it back up to the steering knuckle because I had to move the truck out to the car while they redid our roof. But anyway, I'll bring you back as I get the new steering components in. Old steering linkage is out. Pretty much left it all intact. These are the new tie rods. I went ahead and assembled them. When I assembled them, I tried to make them about the same length. Of course, I am going to get the front end aligned as soon as I'm finished, but I want to get it close. So I did that on both. Another thing to note is the inner tie rods have reverse threads. So when you have to put this coupler the correct direction to match with the threads. I went ahead and assembled the, I'm not sure what this bar is called, but I think this is the Pitman arm. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I connected it over to what I believe is called the idler arm. Also, correct me on that. So next, I'm gonna put the tie rod ends on. New linkage is in. What I had installed before, I had to take back off this bar here because these inner tie rods have to come in from the back side and there's just no clearance to get it in there. So lesson learned there. And also it was a good thing keeping this one assembled because I was able to reference it to put this one back together, because at first I was trying to put this on from the front and that's not correct. But luckily it doesn't let you put it on that way. So all I have left now is to torque all these castle nuts down, put the cotter pins in, and then grease it. S10 is finally done. I just finished putting the sway bar in. So I don't think I showed you guys the old components. Let's go take a look. So these are the old control arms. See, they obviously need to be replaced. This is a bump stop. Actually, I don't even have one on there right now. I need to order one. But as far as the bushings, cracked pretty good. I think the uppers are actually worse. But anyway, there's the old steering linkage. So that's it. I'm about to take this off to get some tires and the front end alignment. And then I have to change the oil in the Sierra. So I'll talk to you guys later.